Hey guys, what's going on? It's your boy, the Mad Kiger, and up here today, guys, we are going to be doing a series overview. Well, it's not really a series. I've been talking about doing these sort of videos for a while. Where there's a series of games, and if I have everyone in that collection, then I'll talk about them. But today we're going to be talking about the PlayStation 2 Star Wars games. Now, of course, Star Wars has been around for years, and it's only grown even bigger now. Nowadays we have TV shows, books, comics, and of course video games. In the early 2000s, the PS2 era of consoles, there was about 20 or so console versions of Star Wars games, and that's not even including all of the PC games and the handheld games. I'm talking about Xbox, PS2, and GameCube. There was roughly about 20 or so Star Wars games, maybe a few more. Now, I have all of the ones on PS2 here. There's 12 in total. I could be missing one or two, but I think I have them all. Now, bear in mind, most of the games here, some of them were exclusive to PS2, whereas other ones weren't. I will talk about which ones were exclusive if I see them. But before I get into the classic Star Wars games, I just want to talk about, I don't have every single Star Wars game. I do want to do a video when I get every single Star Wars game, of course, one day. But, there's quite a few Star Wars games out there, and some of them are quite rare and hard to find. There's some really out there games. And of course, every single console going back to the Atari 2600 had at least one Star Wars game. It's unbelievable how many Star Wars games there are. And I like to define Star Wars games into 4 different categories. The first category being lightsaber themed games, like the Jedi Fallen Order kind of games. The war games with soldiers and first-person shooters, third-person shooters like your Star Wars Battlefront. And of course, then there's the Starfighter ones, in the space with the ship. And then there's the miscellaneous Star Wars games, the sort of racing games, sort of puzzle ones, all of the weird and wonderful ones out there. But PS2 had 12 games, and it had quite a good variety. It had a few of each of those categories. Nowadays, we've only got 4 Star Wars games on modern systems. We have the 2 Star Wars Battlefront remakes, remasters, whatever you want to call them. We have the Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order game, and then we have the upcoming Star Wars Squadrons game, which I'm in 2 minds whether or not I want to get. But anyway, without further ado, let's go through the PS2 game. Now, I haven't played all of them, but I have at least, I know some stuff about it. The first games that came out, these are in no particular order, by the way. I'm not doing them in year that they came out, but the first ones, of course, are the 2 Lego Star Wars games. Now, the Lego Star Wars games weren't the first Lego games, of course, but these are the first Lego games that really took on that whole Lego style that we know and love. Collecting the characters, going through the movies, not leveling up, but going through different chapters, finding all of the mini kits, trying to get all of the bonus characters, looking into the nooks and crannies to find stuff, and of course collecting as much money as possible. Now, there were 2 on the PlayStation 2. There was the Lego Star Wars, the video game, based on episode 1, 2, and 3. And then there was the original trilogy, which was also released on other systems. This was probably the best version of this is the Xbox 360 version, based on episode 4, 5, and 6. And, there is the upcoming 2 new Star Wars, Rise of Skywalker, Skywalker trilogy, Skywalker collection, whatever you want to call it, coming out for the Xbox One and PS4. I am really looking forward to that. But I remember having a lot of fun with these games back in the day. They follow the movies pretty well. They take the best parts of each movie, and of course the second game added in space combat into the game. And these games were just ridiculously fun. They were over the top. Second game, you could create your own characters. These were great co-op games. And if you're just looking, if you've never played a Star Wars game or you've never seen a Star Wars movie somehow, play these games because they will give you a brief overview of the movies. It's crazy that I've played the Lego Lord of the Rings game before watching the movie, I think, at some point. I can't remember if that's true or not, but the two Lego Star Wars games, these are great games, and of course, we all love Lego games. These combine a bit of everything, you know, lightsaber fights, blaster fights, some Starfighter stuff, but these are really fun games and definitely worth checking out. Although the complete saga is probably the best way to go because basically you get both of these games combined into one. And then, of course, we've got the new version coming up. The next two games that I want to talk about are the war games, and that is Star Wars Battlefront. I have 2 copies of Battlefront 2 because one of them is has this little P2 10 out of 10 thing on here. I normally don't go for different console cover variants, but I think this one didn't work properly. But Star Wars Battlefront is, in my opinion, probably the best Star Wars game for fans of just war games, basically. If you don't care about a really in-depth story and you just want to play as some of the well-known characters from Star Wars Battlefront 1 and 2 on the PlayStation 2. These were also released on Xbox. The Xbox version of Star Wars Battlefront 2 and 1 is a bit better because if you have the Xbox Classic version on the Xbox One, you'll get those DLC packages that were released for them for free, basically. I never knew about them, but they did do it as a free update. So just be aware it adds a few new levels to the first game, a few new levels to the second game, and a couple of new characters. But what was great about Star Wars Battlefront back in the day, you know, both games were excellent. The second one, of course, I think is a little bit better because you had the heroes to play as. But the first one, a lot of people still prefer for its core gameplay. The second game did have a bit of a story to it, whereas the first one just focused on the stories from the movies, basically, the main battles. These games are excellent. You know, you had on-ground combat with different classes, you know, the stormtroopers, the droids, the clones, and the rebels. You could play as Jedi and Sith, like Darth Vader, Count Dooku, the Emperor, Obi-Wan, Anakin, Yoda, and even some blaster heroes like Han Solo, you know, Leia, Boba Fett, Jango Fett, to name a few. The second game had space battles in it as well, and I like to think that the Star Wars Battlefront games really combine the war aspect of Star Wars into one whole package. If you are looking for an up-to-date version, play Star Wars Battlefront 2 on the Xbox One or PS4. However, the original games still hold up today, and I still prefer these games over the new games just because the core gameplay is just there. It's a fun game, and they have some great co-op modes and unlockable things as well to do. Definitely, if you're into the war aspect of Star Wars Battlefront is an excellent series. Then we get to another sort of standalone game, and that is Star Wars Bounty Hunter. We all know Jango Fett from Episode 2. He was this pretty badass character that we really wanted to see more of. Unfortunately, he met with an end in the movie, of course, but Star Wars Bounty Hunter is an excellent attempt at trying to make a game based on a character from the movie that really didn't get enough attention. And, you know, it's kind of like Shadows of the Empire on N64. It was just an attempt at trying to do something away from the movies, you know, taking a character that was in the movie, but trying to give them a bit of a background. And Star Wars Bounty Hunter was released on, I think it was released on GameCube and Xbox as well. I could be wrong about Xbox, and it was also released on PS4 if you want to get the PS4 version. It's not a remake or anything, it's just a bit of an updated graphic version of the PS2. Star Wars Bounty Hunter is an excellent game. However, it is pretty challenging. I will put it out there. It is a challenging game. It plays like a third-person action with some platforming elements, of course, with your jetpack. And it has a really cool combat system with, you know, the two pistols. You know, you can really, like, focus down multiple enemies at a time as you're going through these different areas, like the jungle, like the towns. you know, like Coruscant and stuff. And of course, one of the main features of this game is the Bambi system. Basically, what will happen is there's parts in the game where you can use your scanner in your helmet, and you can look at all these people in the world, and if they have a bounty on them, you can take them dead or alive and get some extra credits, which you can use to redeem in the in-game store for like behind the scenes footage and stuff like that. But it is a really fun game. It does get quite challenging towards the end, but it is a great game. It's not the most polished game, but it does have some things that are rough around the edges at times and frustrating moments. But I highly recommend it if you're looking for something that is just a pure action single player experience. Let me get into some Starfighter games. Of course, one of the biggest things in Star Wars is the space battle. Here we have Star Wars Starfighter. Now, this is kind of an interesting one because this game actually takes place roughly around the time of Star Wars Episode 1, which kind of makes me believe this game originally was going to be on the PlayStation 1. This came out in like 2000, like 2001. It's an early PS2 game, and it makes me think it was originally going to be for the PlayStation 1 because of it being based on Episode 1, because the PlayStation 1 had the other two Episode 1 games. But yeah, if you are looking for something more from Episode 1, basically, like more story, behind the scenes stuff, what happened during Episode 1, this is a pretty good game. It isn't too bad. I have played a little bit of it. I played it a few years ago, so I'll have to refresh my memory. If anything, this game is kind of like a sequel to Star Wars Battle of Naboo on the N64 and PC. Of course, being focused around, you know, Episode 1 and the Naboo starfighters and stuff, but it is a pretty fun Starfighter game. It's not the best game of any flight game I've ever played, but it's actually a pretty good beginner game actually. If you've never played a Star Wars flight game, this one doesn't do too much to really like put you out there, and it's not really simulated, of course. Fun game. It is not perfect, but it isn't too bad. It's kind of cool to see more Episode 1 content, even if it is just in space. Then we got a sequel to the Starfighter called Jedi Starfighter. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, I haven't actually played this one. But of course, this game basically just continued on. I'm not sure roughly when about this is based. I think it's based like Episode 2, yeah. This is based basically before Episode 2, I think, or during Episode 2. And, well, it is a space battle game, of course, mostly around the Jedi Starfighter. So you're basically playing as the Jedi Starfighter and the ship on the front, basically. It does have some co-op modes and stuff, but this is one that I don't really have a lot to say about because I haven't played it. But it was released on other systems at the time, and it also had a PS4 release. Then we get to kind of an interesting one, Star Wars: The Clone Wars. Now, when you're doing a list of games, like you're trying to do a game list, and you come across this one, you think, oh my god, there was a Star Wars Clone Wars game on PS2. You think, oh wow, was it based on the animated show at the time? No, this actually isn't anything to do with the TV show. This actually came out before the TV show. The Star Wars Clone Wars Adventures might have been out at the time. You know, the 2D shorts that they came out with. Basically, this game takes place after Episode 2, and this game is a vehicle combat game, basically. So it has Starfighter missions, but it's mostly focused on vehicle combat. It does have some missions where you play as I'm sure this game has a mission where you can actually play as an on-the-ground like Jedi of Mace Windu and stuff. This game is a little bit rough around the edges. I have played it once or twice as a kid, but I can't really remember too much about it other than not really liking it that much. And because it has the name The Clone Wars, you really want it to be based on the TV show. But because this came out before the TV show was really a thing, you know, it makes sense. Now, this was released on GameCube as well. And yeah, I'm not entirely sure how good this game is. I haven't played it in a long time, but it is mostly a vehicle combat game, kind of a bit like that Star Wars Demolition on PS1, but more focused on action. Um, it's kind of a cool concept that they tried to do like an expansion of the Clone Wars. Maybe this was like what helped spawn this TV show. I highly doubt it, but it might have. You never know. Now we get into some Jedi action games. Star Wars The Force Unleashed. I actually recently played this one. Of course, this was released on the Xbox 360 as well. This game actually isn't too bad on the PS2. It's a hack and slash game. It has some pretty cool concept where you can really control the Force, you know, controlling, like, throwing things at people and stuff. This is another example of them really trying to give an original story through video games. And that's what video games have really been about for Star Wars a lot of the time now. Is they're trying to expand on the story and the universe of Star Wars through video games. This is basically Star Wars 3.5, basically. Basically, you play as Darth Vader's secret apprentice, and you basically go off and you're hunting down remaining Jedi and people for the Empire. And then there's a lot of twists and turns along the way, and you end up becoming a good guy at the end and stuff like this. It is a pretty fun game, and it does have some pretty cool story elements to it. It's not perfect. I recommend the Xbox 360 version if you want a better gameplay version, but it's still not too bad. It does take a lot of the good things from the Xbox 360 version. Then we get to Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith. Actually the only game based on an actual movie on the PS2. All of the other games weren't based on any movie. They were just sort of out there, really, with the exception of Lego Star Wars. But Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith is an excellent game. It combines hack and slash with some force powers in there. Has sort of like an isometric view almost. This game has it all. You know, it has a pretty good telling of the movie, but does actually expand on the movie a little bit. You know, some of the scenes in this game I wish were in the movie. It would have been even better if they threw the stuff that was in this game in the movie. It has a pretty good alternative ending. It has a co-op mode where you can have up to 4 missions in co-op. It has some unlockable modes, and of course has a really fun 1v1 fighting mode. I used to love playing the 1v1 fighting mode as a kid with my brothers. Really fun game. You think it's a movie game, it's terrible. It's actually not. It's a really good Star Wars movie game. If you're going to play at least one Star Wars movie game, this is the one to play. And the last two are actually racing games. Yeah, this is where I talk about those miscellaneous things. You know, Star Wars is such a big universe, you know, and there were a couple of racing games released on the PS2. First one was Star Wars Racer Revenge. And we all remember Star Wars Episode 1 Podracer on the N64 and the Dreamcast. It is being released for the PS4 and the Nintendo Switch. I'm not sure about Xbox One and PC, but it is being re-released. Not this version. This one already has got a digital version on PS4, sorry. I've never actually played this game in particular. I heard that this game isn't as good as the Podracer game. I think it meant, what people mean is it's kind of like when you play Crash Team Racing and then you play the PS2 version of Crash Team Racing. More people have nostalgia for the first game and prefer the first game, whereas this one sort of, a lot of people felt like, even though it's a fun game and it still captures the core gameplay from the first game, it just sort of didn't hold up as well. I could be wrong. I haven't personally played this one yet. I might have tried it once as a kid. But pod racing is a really fun concept in Star Wars. And you think, you know, a Star Wars racing game just wouldn't work. But they actually do. And you will never believe we did get another racing game. Star Wars Super Bombard Racing. You don't know how long it took me to find this game in the wild. I never played this as a kid. I've never played it since. But this game is basically Star Wars Podracer, but Mario Kart. This is Star Wars' answer to Mario Kart. You know, you play these big bobblehead characters, and yeah, I can't really say how much how good this game is. It will probably be worth playing as a laugh. If you had someone to play it with, you could definitely have a laugh with it. It seems that this game is actually based around episode 1 by the looks of it, because all the characters in this game are episode 1 characters, like Darth Maul, Boss Nass, Jar Jar. So when did this game? This game came out in 2001. This was an early release, so this game came out before Race to Revenge. So yeah, maybe that's why it took me a while to find it. But it's unbelievable that this game got released, you know. And you know what? Star Wars, that's what I love about the Star Wars video games, is there's just something for everyone. Now, I hope you guys enjoyed this overview of the PlayStation 2 game. Sorry that I didn't really go into in-depth reviews here. That's not what I wanted to do. I just wanted to show off the games that are on PlayStation 2. So if you are going for a PlayStation 2 collection and you want to get all of the Star Wars games, these are the ones you need to get. There might be another one out there, but I highly doubt there is. And again, if you are from Japan or US territories, I'm not entirely sure if all of these games got released worldwide. I think the only PAL game was this one, but I could be wrong. But yeah, you know, Star Wars video games are out there, you know, from the early Atari 2600 games, you know, to the Master PC, you know, X-Wing Starfighter simulators, to the Empire at War, you know, the real-time strategy games, to the Battlefronts, to the Jedi Fallen Order game, to the Knights of the Old Republic. You know, I've still got so much more Star Wars games in my collection, and there's still so many more Star Wars games out there. And I would love to have a full Star Wars collection for you guys to show off. I haven't got all of them. In fact, a lot of the ones that I am missing are the older games. Most of the modern games I do have. So when I say modern games, like PlayStation 2 onwards. And like I said, I don't have it for every single system. I tend to just get the exclusives for the other systems if I want them as a Star Wars collector. But, you know, with the upcoming Star Wars Squadrons game, I think it's going to be a good game. I've seen the gameplay trailer. It looks like a cool concept, you know, the whole space themed game. You know, it's a big part of Star Wars. It's not going to be for everyone, and I understand that. But it's nice to know that they are trying to give away another Starfighter game for people that do like that side of Star Wars. With upcoming Star Wars games, what else have we got coming out? We have the upcoming Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga. I'm really looking forward to that game. I know it sounds stupid, but that game is going to be so much fun. I can't wait for it. You know, what other Star Wars games could we see in the future? I'd like to see another Lego Star Wars Clone Wars with all of the Clone Wars seasons on there. I think that would be pretty cool. Maybe even throwing some Star Wars Rebels characters into there. We have been talking about an upcoming Jedi Fallen Order sequel. You know, another like story-driven hack and slash game. Will there be a Star Wars Battlefront 3? Who knows? You know, I'd love to see another real-time strategy Star Wars game like Empire at War come to console. I'd love to see that. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. A bit of a Star Wars themed, even though I'm wearing a Batman t-shirt, but never mind. Star Wars and Batman, that'd be kind of cool, I guess. Anyway, guys, if you enjoyed today's video, feel free to leave a like and, of course, comment below. Let me know your favourite Star Wars game. Mine is Star Wars Battlefront 2. Have you got all of the PS2 games? Which ones do you want? Which ones are you missing? Tell me some Star Wars games that I should definitely check out if I don't have them. And of course, guys, as always, subscribe if you haven't already and join the family. I won't be streaming tonight. I'm going to be watching some more Star Wars Clone Wars with my partner. We're about halfway through season 2 now. I've watched them all before, apart from the new season, but re-watching them with my partner, having some fun with that one. And of course, guys, follow me on Mixer, Twitter and Instagram at the Mad Kiger for updates and streams, etc, etc. And as always, have a nice day, and I will see you in the next video. Take care and bye-bye.